No Man's Sky Frontiers could be dropping any day now. Just waiting for the blessed and almighty Sean Murray to drop the tweet. And today I have a special topic for you, talking about some of the things from historic updates that the No Man's Sky Frontiers update could resolve or improve. You're going to want to keep it locked here to the LZ. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping back by the LZ. First things first, I want to say thank you all for finally having me cross 6,000 subscribers. Undoubtedly, I was pushed over the edge by the previous video that apparently the search engine optimization gods finally noticed, and it was a banger. As of recording, just getting ready to cross 70,000 views. Thank you all so much for joining the LZ. And also, a few days ago, I put up a poll on the community section of the channel here asking what rumored or leaked feature were you looking forward to the most, with almost 300 votes. Lots of you were fascinated with the idea of a void coming to No Man's Sky Frontiers, and also improved proc generation, which we'll actually talk about in the video today. So today we're going to talk about 5 things that could actually be improved or finished from previous updates with No Man's Sky Frontiers. Check the description below for chapters as well if you find something that you're kind of bored with or whatever. But of course, firstly, we mentioned the void already, and of course, there is all kinds of ambiguous talk about what the void could actually mean. But when it comes to rumors and leaks on things like 4chan, awful site by the way, but a site that has previously done very well with No Man's Sky leaks, the addition of a void to No Man's Sky was one of the predominant and popular ones that has been consistent across multiple leaks. But attached to those rumors that fell with the 4chan leaks came things like visiting previous worlds that were with previous iterations, with previous updates of the game. Obviously, if you've been following No Man's Sky for the last 5 years, you've known that the game has changed quite significantly. It's almost a completely different game than from launch 5 years ago. There have been multiple universe resets, multiple procedural generation upgrades. The biggest one that came with the previous anniversary, the update that was called Origins. Lots of the No Man's Sky fan base are really craving to go back and enjoy some of those older worlds again. And of course, obvious speculation. I know some of you hate that, but us content creators, we seem to love it because we love to have a conversation about this game. What the Void could actually improve or complete on is to add more substance to things like Living Ship and Exomech. Those were 2 updates that came last year, adding a brand new ship and a brand new vehicle type that unfortunately didn't really come with a whole lot of substance, right? Just here's a new ship and here's a bipedal a machine mech thing, kind of like from the Matrix Revolutions, right? It is what it is, right? But when I've been critical of No Man's Sky, I've talked about these types of updates that add foundational things without building the house on top of the foundation, right? Living Ship was just another ship that introduced a lot of wonder and speculation about the Void because it was birthed from the Void Egg, which was one of the community missions that sort of led into the launch of the Living Ship update. And there's several references recently in the last couple of years in the No Man's Sky conversation and lore that mentions the Void quite a bit. Now, while Exomech is not necessarily related to the Void, what is possibly related to the Void that has been rumored is a combat update. If you've been one of those that have been kind of dipping your toes into the No Man's Sky pool in the last several years, you know that combat has not really been the focus of No Man's Sky. I mean, it kind of was advertised by the Sony PlayStation YouTube channel that combat was one of the, it was kind of one of the, like, survival was one of the things that they were focusing on, and it's not really there. It's not really too big of a thing, right? There has been combat upgrades in the past, primarily with the Desolations update, and the Atlas Rises update got a pretty good update as far as space combat goes. Those are very welcome additions, but they didn't really quench the thirst of those who just want to shooty bang some aliens or other people or other races. Speaking of other races, the Void is also rumored to bring another enemy race to the game that is supposed to be a persistent enemy that we're all facing. Now, I know you explorative, whatever that word is, you explorers of the No Man's Sky verse that don't like to fight in combat and all that stuff, and you just want to smell the roses and take pictures and all that. I know you don't like the combat or the concept of combat, but... And I know this is going to make me sound a bit of a, like a kiss ass, but I fully trust Hello Games to handle this appropriately. I know some of you have not really been favorable to the addition of the more multiplayer-centric, but it's not like Hello Games have really deviated from the single-player aspect of No Man's Sky all that much. It's just that the single-player aspect of the game hasn't gotten so much attention for a few years now. The Void could really bring a whole lot of single-player, flavor and exploration flavor to those of you who really like the exploration aspect of No Man's Sky without a bunch of weirdos getting in your way. So the Void could really bring some improvements to things like the Living Ship update, the Exomech update, and a lot of flavor to the folks that just really love to just go it alone, right? The second thing that the Frontiers update can improve, and I've been seeing actually comically a whole lot of begging in the comment section of my channel for this, but water improvements. Water improvement. When fix water, Sean. I'm going to create a YouTube or a Twitter account that just responds to all of Sean Murray's tweets. It just fix water! Exclamation point. And I think people are right? I know that Hello Games and Sean Murray have a very delicate balance in what's happening in No Man's Sky. When the game launched, it launched at 30 frames per second, 1080p cap. Ever since then, it's been moved to 1080 60. It's been moved to 4K 60 on the new gen platforms that we have, and of course for PC. So it's definitely had an evolution in what it can do graphically. And of course, the clouds. Oh my God, the clouds. Kiss his fingers. I wonder if the guy that just completely bothers Sean Murray in his Twitter mentions about fixing the clouds has just deleted his account at this point, because nobody should be not impressed by the cloud tech. It has some things that should probably be fixed, right? But when I'm walking on surfaces, those clouds are beautiful. But what about water? Water is just this sort of bland-looking, flat, kind of reflected surface that when you're swimming on the surface looks like you're kind of floating 5 feet above the water. There's like no waves. The tides look like root beer foam. I think it's definitely time for a water overhaul. Give me some waves. Give me some turbulence. And Sea of Thieves this baby up, man. If you've ever played Sea of Thieves, you know it's got one of the most impressive water visuals of any game. Like I don't even know if I fully like Sea of Thieves yet. I've dabbled with it a little bit, but I could definitely get it just to watch the water do the water thing. It's super impressive. No Man's Sky definitely needs that, right? It needs some waves. It needs some fluid dynamics a little bit. It don't have to be all physical, right? But give me something that resembles water, because this just looks like a sheet of saran wrap over a blue-colored fluid, right? It doesn't do it for a lot of folks. My comment section has actually been filled with I want to see better water. As a matter of fact, I mentioned the survey I ran earlier on the community page. One person was like, I can't believe you were not talking about water as a No Man's Sky commentator / influencer, creator, whatever person that I'm considered to be in this orbit of No Man's Sky conversation. And to be fair, I've been kind of lackadaisical on it until a lot of folks have pointed out to me like, hey, you know what? We deserve a better class of water in this game. And definitely it is one of the things that kind of clashes with the rest of the beauty that Hello Games have really beautified in this game. I mean, the proc gen is great. The skies are great. They really added a ton of new assets with Origins last year to really spice up the variety of the game, which was heavily reviewed positively by me. Check the cards for my review. Also a banger video, got like 80,000 views. A lot of folks like that, found that informative as well. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. Thirdly, one thing that I really, really, really want to see them expand on with Frontiers that I think could be very realistic is the frigates. These are the smaller freighters that sort of bounce in with your bigger freighter when you call it in. You can send these out on missions or things like that. But really, they're incomplete, right? They have, they're beautiful, they're awesome, they have interiors, you can land on them and walk around, but really that's the extent of what you can with those. They have their own leveling mechanics, you can repair them when they get busted in particular expeditions, but I've only ever seen that one time. It's kind of hard to make that happen. But I think Hello Games should really steal from Star Citizen on this, right? I want some walkable interiors. I want multi-crew ships, and I want to fly a larger ship that, maybe we can FTL it up a little bit, right? Go on some expeditions or things like that with maybe a 4-person crew manning a frigate together. I mean, just look at these things. They're impressive looking. Thing number 4, we were talking a little bit earlier about the Living Ship update, and it just wasn't the Living Ship that update introduced, but it also introduced space encounters. These space encounters are things that you can just be warping through space and all of a sudden encounter, you run across it. It is a ambiguously vague thing. It's kind of wondrous. It's kind of cool looking. And there's several different aspects of what happens with these things, but largely these items, they do nothing or very little to nothing. Most of them, you can shoot them and explode them and they give you some kind of mundane item, but generally unfulfilling, right? This was another example of my criticisms of Hello Games adding something to the game that isn't fleshed out and is just kind of there for window dressing purposes, maybe adds a little bit of wonder to things, but doesn't really serve a function. What if No Man's Sky Frontiers could add to these oddities that you can increase in space? There is one of these that you can actually find that's actually a portal that it basically serves as to kind of act like a black hole, and it just randomly throws you into the galaxy somewhere else. I mean, if I wanted to do that, I would just find a black hole. So I think these things should have a sort of a unique process to them. These are a really good idea, but I really wish they served a bigger function. And then finally, the last big thing that we are looking forward to that hopefully that hopefully Proc Gen will be improved with this update. One of the bigger rumors that came along with this was better procedural generation tech. Now, of course, get ready to comment on this video about how much you hate me for pushing for a galactic reset. But, of course, another part of the rumor is stating that they are not actually resetting. They're just finding a way to appease everybody that has basically set up shop in various planets and made their bases and homes and things like that. And you know what? I respect that. I can't hate the base builders. I am not one that likes to build on planets because I haven't really found much of a use of it yet. I have typically built my base inside my freighter, so that way I could just kind of carry it with me, which is fine, but I can see why many of you do that. But Frontiers, if it's introducing a void, would do a lot of what kind of they did with the Origins, right? They added millions of other new planets to satisfy the need for new procedural generation and new planets to land on without directly harming the planets that already existed too much. It would kind of change the aesthetic or the type of planet that it was on, but it would not change the terrain. I don't think I agree with that as a middle ground option. I think a lot of folks found their bases when Origins landed they found their bases on a planet that was just generally unlivable at that point. Probably before Origins launched, it was a beautiful tropical planet with no storms and no sentinels, only for it to be a rotting hellscape of just complete torture and complete annoyance, which was probably not the original intent of that base. So that's probably subjective with my viewership on who really enjoyed that. I'm pushing for a full reset, baby. Reset it all. But one of the part of the rumors did talk about sort of a base blueprint that travelers can just relocate their bases as they are built anytime they want to, which I think is a valuable way of addressing this. So if that is true, and if that is what they did, then why not do a full reset at this point? Really take advantage of the new technology that you're probably bringing with Frontiers. I want to hear from you in the comment section. Are you hyped for Frontiers? When do you think it's dropping? What do you want the most from Frontiers? And tell me how much I'm wrong about water or procedural generations, resets. Love to hear from you in the comment section down below. And of course, always great to have you in the LZ, and I'll see you in the next one.